route to Alaska. President Trump said he wasn't having the meeting to broker a deal, but what he was trying to do is to get Vladimir Putin to the table. And he's done that.
He has. And I suppose, given the amount of bloodshed that we have seen for years and years, the acquisition of territory, the displacement of millions, talking is always a good thing, or can potentially always be a good thing.
But how can they really, truly achieve in this just one meeting? Granted, the Russians are saying it's going to last 6-7 hours, so I guess a lot can be said during those 6-7 hours.
Yeah, I mean, as you and other folks were talking about a little bit earlier, I mean, certainly, within the Trump toolkit is always a bit of drama, as you discussed. So there's a spectacle here. Maybe it is indeed the first steps to a larger negotiation, but as European countries, as President Zelensky have raised concerns, I think they certainly don't want this to be a fait accompli here in Alaska, that this should just be the start of hopefully negotiations that can involve all the critical players.
If you're Vladimir Putin, what is your big objective here? And does that objective go beyond the very complicated issue of what's happening in Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's certainly been commentary that has suggested that Putin has already achieved something because he is being effectively recognized and legitimated by having a meeting on U.S. soil with President Trump. I mean, this is a leader who, after all, has committed a crime of aggression, is responsible for thousands and thousands of lives being taken, violating the UN Charter, Article 2.4. He's been isolated through sanctions, and yet here he is getting the handshake and the sort of royal treatment from the United States. So in that respect, this alone is a certain level of recognition and of legitimacy. And so one might say that's a great start for him.
And do you envision a scenario where there could be renewed, maybe they'll put the Ukraine issue on the side and just say, all right, we met, we had positive discussions, we listened to one another, this was about building trust, it was about building confidence, but let's expand the discussions to other topics. Do you see these two leaders cooperating on perhaps counterterrorism, on nuclear arms control?
Well, certainly, I think both leaders have given hints at that sort of thing. I mean, Trump is always transactional, and so whether it is things like renewing or a new nuclear agreement, the START treaty ends in February, so there is a need there. Whether there is some sort of deal, Putin has put out there that part of this land swap and such could connect to what we might call mineral diplomacy. Rare earth minerals that are either in actually Ukrainian territory that Russia has either acquired through aggression or hopes to, and then reaching some sort of deal with the United States. So, these sorts of negotiations, one can certainly imagine that this is in the thinking of both leaders.
Every time you listen to Donald Trump, majority of the times when they're talking about the conflict in Ukraine, he has repeatedly blamed his predecessor, Joe Biden, saying this conflict would have never happened if Donald Trump had been president. What do you make of that? And what is he right to some extent?
I mean, it's entirely, I guess, impossible to say. Certainly, he has always, or for quite some time, has questioned aspects of NATO, and certainly the role of NATO is a factor that Putin has raised at times as a basis for the invasion of Ukraine. It's not one that I think is legitimate, either in law or in practicality, but whether that indeed is part of the motivation of Putin legitimately so is a possibility, and certainly that's one dynamic. Look, on the other hand, we know that Trump is given to hyperbolic language. He also promised that this war would be over within 24 hours of his taking the seat of the presidency. And sadly, we see 7-8 months in that this war is still going on.
And Avidan, how significant is it that these discussions were supposed to be one-on-one initially, along with the translators for each president? But then it turned out they would take their aides for President Trump, Marco Rubio, and also Steve Witkoff. And for the Russian president, we did see Sergei Lavrov and a number of other people. So 3 on 3. Is that significant in any way?
Well, I think it is. I mean, it suggests that, we're not allowing it to just be personalities of two individuals, but elevating it in some sense and complicating it in some ways, as it should be. So I think we want responsible people in the room helping negotiate, hopefully, potentially, details that could lead to a ceasefire.
All right, Avidan Cover, thank you very much.